Hey there, football fans. Subscribe to my channel for weekly NFL power rankings and comment below if you agree or disagree with any of my rankings. We are 2 weeks into the 2020 season, and here are my power rankings. At 32, the New York Jets. Through 2 weeks, the Jets are easily the worst team in football. Missing Le'Veon Bell and Jamison Crowder definitely doesn't help. At 31, the Minnesota Vikings. In Week 1, the Vikings offense looked competent, but in Week 2, the entire Vikings team was a dumpster fire. At 30, the Philadelphia Eagles. Injuries derailed the Eagles in Week 1. Injuries played a part in their Week 2 loss to the Los Angeles Rams, but the Rams are also a much superior team at this point. At 29, the Houston Texans. The Texans are 0-2, but I fully expect them to bounce back this season, but maybe not in Week 3 against the Steelers. The Texans' opening 3 games against the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Steelers is the most unforgiving opening schedule I can remember. At 28, the Carolina Panthers. With the way the Panthers play defense, which is terribly, and the loss of Christian McCaffrey, I expect things to get worse before they get better. At 27, the Detroit Lions. The Lions are 0-2, and after their next 2 games against the Cardinals and Saints respectively, they actually have an easy remaining schedule. The catch is, if the Lions go 0-4, head coach Matt Patricia might be on the chopping block. At 26, the New York Giants. Losing Saquon Barkley for the year is a massive blow for the New York Giants, but at least they're taking on the 49ers in Week 3. The 49ers have the worst injury concerns in the NFL this year, which is obviously saying something. At 25, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are 0-2 and have played 2 mediocre or bad teams so far. Burrow is showing some serious potential, but the Bengals' O&D line has been terrible. The Bengals play a third mediocre or bad team in as many weeks as they try to get their first win versus the Eagles in Week 3. At 24, the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins played the Bills tough in Week 2, but there was lightning delays in that game. It was a divisional matchup, and Fitzpatrick thrives in those weird situations. I feel like the Thursday night football matchup of the Dolphins versus the Jaguars, with both teams having bad defenses and absolute gunslingers at quarterback, might be a lot of fun to watch. At 23, the Cleveland Browns. Luckily, the Browns started their season so poorly that things could only go up. If the Browns can keep the game close with their defense, then their offense with the double-headed backfield of Chubb and Hunt should be able to control the clock. With that recipe, Beckham should be good for a big play once a game, and the Browns may become a formidable team. At 22, the Atlanta Falcons. Through 2 weeks, the Falcons have the 5th most points scored in the NFL, averaging 32 points per game. But despite their offensive output, the Falcons are giving up 39 points per game on defense. I thought Dan Quinn was a defensive head coach. Imagine scoring 32 points per game and still not having a win this season. At 21, the Denver Broncos. In what was the worst week of injuries I've ever seen, the Broncos got hit pretty hard. Considering the strength of the AFC West, I think this season is already pretty much lost for the Broncos, which isn't so bad for such a young team. At 20, the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts had a dominant showing in Week 2 after an embarrassing loss in Week 1. Week 3, the Colts fortunately have another cake matchup against the worst team in football, the New York Jets. At 19, the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys pulled off a miracle victory in Week 2 against the Falcons. The Cowboys are lucky they were able to steal that win, because in Week 3, the Cowboys are road underdogs against one of the league's best teams, the Seattle Seahawks. At 18, the Washington Football Team. As of right now, the Washington Football Team is still first place in the NFC East. If Washington beats the Browns in Week 3, we're going to have to start taking this football team a little more seriously. At 17, the Los Angeles Chargers. In Week 2, against the Chiefs, we learned that the Chargers' defense is dangerous. But I think we also learned that Justin Herbert is the future of the franchise. This Chargers team reminds me a lot of the Browns team right now. I think the Browns and the Chargers will finish 2020 with similar records and stats. Tied at 16, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs beat up a hapless Panthers defense to make their record 1-1 on the season. Luckily, the Buccaneers have another easy game in Week 3 against the Broncos. After that, we should see the Bucs tested as they play a string of strong defenses and good teams until they get the Giants in Week 8. Also tied at 16, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I expect as the season goes on, the Jaguars will continue to trend a little bit down in the power rankings. Although this week they may stay neutral or even go a little bit up with a potential easy win on Thursday Night Football against the Dolphins. At 14, the New Orleans Saints. Losing Michael Thomas and losing to the Raiders really stings for the Saints. But the reality is, the Saints lost that game because their defense gave up 34 points to the Raiders. Michael Thomas or not, the Saints defense has to be a lot better and play with a lot more discipline if the Saints want to win the NFC South in 2020. At 13, the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are playing in the best division in football and have more injuries than any other team in football. That is a terrible recipe. But even with all the injuries they've sustained, the 49ers are still 3.5-point road favorites against the Giants this week. At 12, the New England Patriots. The Patriots went down to the wire in an emotion-filled Sunday night football game at Seattle. Cam Newton threw for almost 400 yards, and the Patriots scored 30 points. That really showed me an offensive ability that makes me feel much better about the Patriots' potential this season, despite the fact that they lost the game. The Pats will try to bounce back against a red-hot 2-0 Las Vegas Raiders in Week 3. At 11, the Chicago Bears. The Bears are 2-0, but they are definitely overranked by my power rankings algorithm. The Bears' box scores so far of narrow victories over the Lions and the Giants hasn't been particularly impressive, despite the fact that the Bears' Week 3 opponent, the Atlanta Falcons, are 0-2. A win over them would increase the credibility of the Bears' 2020 resume. At 10, the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are 2-0 so far, but like the Bears, both their wins were against marginal teams by a narrow margin of points. Luckily, the Titans have another easy matchup in Week 3 as they take on the atrocious Minnesota Vikings. But it's still possible that the Titans could start 3-0 and the Texans could start 0-3, and I may still consider the Texans the better AFC South team. At 9, the Pittsburgh Steelers. In Week 2, the Steelers beat a hobbled Broncos team by only 5 points. In Week 3, the Steelers take on a rabidly hungry 0-2 Texans team. Like the 2-0 Bears taking on the 0-2 Falcons, the 2-0 Steelers taking on the 0-2 Texans are in for the toughest game of their short season so far. Don't let the records deceive here. At 8, the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, the mobile quarterback, who never had a 300-yard game in his career, has had a 300 and a 400-yard game through 2 weeks in 2020. Now, of course, the Bills have had the easiest schedule in the NFL through 2 weeks, but starting in Week 3 against the Rams, the Bills have one of the tougher remaining schedules in the NFL. The Bills are going to have to earn the AFC East if they want to take it from the Patriots. At 7, the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are 2-0. In Week 2, the Raiders knocked off one of the perceived Goliaths of the NFL, the New Orleans Saints. The Raiders may plummet in my power rankings over the next 3 weeks, since in that span, the Raiders take on the Patriots, the Bills, and the Chiefs. But if the Raiders get out of the next 3-week stretch with a 1-2 record, they will have a much easier schedule after that and a legit chance at a wild card spot this season. At 6, the Los Angeles Rams. I feel like the Rams are the most underrated team in football right now. I'm glad my power ranking model is reflecting what I'm feeling personally. If the Rams win at Buffalo this weekend, no one will be sleeping on them anymore. The Rams aren't as flashy as they used to be, but they are more well-rounded as an offense and much stingier as a defense than past years with Sean McVay. At 5, the Seattle Seahawks. Jamal Adams on the Seahawks is the most fun and one of the most talented defensive players in the NFL. Russell Wilson is easily a top 2 player in the NFL. And this season, we are seeing the Seahawks unleash Russ's potential. Getting that key safety in Adams and allowing Russ to cook spells greatness for the 2020 Seahawks. At 4, the Kansas City Chiefs. In Week 2, the Chiefs played terribly and still somehow snuck away with a victory. But the Chiefs' O-line played utterly horrendous, to be frank. The Chiefs didn't make any adjustments to slow down the pass rush of the Chargers. I'm concerned about the Chiefs' Super Bowl potential and expect them to lose on Monday Night Football at the Baltimore Ravens. At 3, the Green Bay Packers. The Packers, in my opinion, have the easiest schedule in the NFL. But you have to give it up to Aaron Rodgers. He's looking like he still has several more years of prime quarterback play left in him. Having said that, the Packers' defense hasn't exactly inspired a ton of confidence through 2 weeks, And the Packers' lack of quality wide receivers after the talented but often injured Davante Adams concerns me as well. At 2, the Arizona Cardinals. My algorithm has certainly overranked the Cardinals with only 2 weeks of data, but nevertheless, the Cardinals are a talented football team that is full of potential. Arizona's next 3 games are against the Lions, the Panthers, and the Jets. So it's highly conceivable that the Cardinals could start their season 5-0. If they do that, the Cardinals could easily hit 10 wins this season and potentially make the playoffs. And at number 1, once again, the Baltimore Ravens. Whoever loses in the Ravens versus Chiefs game on Monday Night Football will surely get dropped lower in the power rankings than they should. And I'm sure whoever wins that game will occupy the top spot in my power rankings for week 3. If the Ravens win at home on Monday night, it might be downright probable that they go wire to wire as number 1 in my 2020 power rankings. Once again, if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting NFL power rankings here weekly. Comment below with any ideas or thoughts you might have. And if you want, follow me on Twitter at MPTalks. Now enjoy your football this weekend, guys. It's going to be an epic week 3.